if you have an illusion of safety, you think you think this makes sense to you, then God bless you. But, for me, working on 1099 and being an entrepreneur made more sense. I want to see somebody hit 100,000 one day, legitimately, not fake business, right? I mean, the highs I've got was 73.
Incredible.
I think that to do 100, I think honestly, do 100,000, you probably need to take about 100 leads a week, to be honest with you. And now Emanuel, he had 6-figure pay through that comes in every month after month, whether he produces or not, he has that coming in, so we're just so excited.
Coming to you with Insurance Man Podcast Don't Shoot. Today we got a very special guest, Mr. Rafael Jones, absolute killer and a friend of mine. How you doing today, Rafael?
I'm doing good, man. Just excited to be on your podcast. Hey, look, just for being in a position where I've seen your podcast and now I'm on it, I'm excited, man. I'm like, hey, that's terrible. I must be doing something right to be on Adam's podcast.
Wow. Killing it, man. Just a quick little intro for those of you that don't know Rafael. And again, I'll let you talk a little bit about yourself, but something that just as of recent, we just got back from a trip to Rome. It was a 16-month contest. And Rafael actually finished number 10, even though he's building an agency, finished number 10 in the nation. Yeah. And with 494,000 in production, which is insane, man. Huge numbers. And not only that, he had the number 1 agent in the country. He's trained and put the top dog, Emanuel, which we did a video as well, it'll be coming out. But yeah, man, take us back to the beginning. How did you get started? What started this journey for you in the insurance business?
Yeah, absolutely. It really starts back when I met my wife. I was a car salesman and I sold at Honda for a little bit. And that's where I met my wife, was at Honda. And she was in insurance. So my wife was with a company called Primerica. Okay, so that's how it all started for me. So I'm selling cars. My wife saw potential and she said, you need to try the insurance business. Now for me, selling cars is a little bit more sexy than selling life insurance. So it was a little bit of a process to try to convince me to really take a look at it. What got me into the life insurance business was my wife ended up winning a Primerica trip to Las Vegas. And I saw a guy, he was selling cars and he went, I think he was making maybe like 100,000. And then his first year with that company, I think he made like 500,000. And so that was a big deal for me because for a guy to go from 100 to 500,000, I know Primerica is a network marketing company. Obviously, Lincoln Heritage is a traditional life insurance company, not network marketing, but for me back then, looking at that opportunity, I was like, man, let me try it. Got in Primerica and found out that it was a little tougher than I thought, to be quite frank with you. The reason why is because, see, with Lincoln Heritage, we have leads. Primerica, you don't have leads. They mainly work people's warm markets. And for me, recruiting, I was okay in the beginning of my life insurance career, but basically what they would do is they would have you recruit and work people's markets, and that's how you would get business. But the issue is that you constantly got to be in front of people. So some months I'll have a bigger month than other months. So I found myself going into like grocery stores, pretending I was a shopper. And then what I would do is I would try to schedule appointments in the grocery store, acting like a shopper. And then that's how I would try to generate appointments. That's okay in your 20s when you're like 22, 23. But what started to happen was you start getting kicked out of stores. I had one that's to where I'm pretending like I'm shopping. And I see a young lady that I thought was pregnant. Remember, I was young and dumb. So I say to the young lady, which you should never say, I say, oh, what are you expecting? I said. And the lady says, really, she was real upset. And the only reason why I was trying to start a conversation with her was I was trying to schedule an appointment to potentially sell life insurance. And that lady got pissed, man. And I think she told security, and I ended up getting kicked out from that store. And then you keep getting kicked out from stores, man. It's tough. So I was just so excited. I eventually left Primerica. I became a broker.
And the broker thing, how long were you in the car business before you got with Primerica?
Yeah, I was in the car business from 18 to about 22, because I started insurance at 22. Okay. And then 18 to about 22. Yeah.
Did you completely leave the car business to go full time with Primerica?
Yeah. So at first I started part-time with Primerica, but then I went full-time. But I went full-time after the trip. I told you from Las Vegas, right? So after the Las Vegas trip, I started part-time, and then eventually I went full-time, and then I just took it from there. But it wasn't bad the first 6 months or so. I made decent money. I made like 4 or 6,000 a month. It was okay, but it wasn't anything that I dreamed about. You get my point? We were making a living, but it wasn't like we had an abundance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And then you went to the broker side.
Yeah. So how I got introduced to the broker side was, first of all, let me kind of explain why I left Primerica. I left Primerica because I was promised a promotion, and my RVP was Deepak Shah. He promised me a promotion. And when I had a conversation with the NSD back in the day, was, we're not going to give you that promotion at the level of production I was promised. That kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. So I ended up leaving Primerica, and I was in an apartment called the Camden back in the day. Me and my wife lived in the Camden, and it was a guy that was a broker, and he said, "Hey man, you should try to become a life insurance broker." So that's how I got my original contracts, was from a guy that was in my apartment complex. And then the contracts that I got, I thought I hit the jackpot, because when I was with Primerica, I probably had, at the time I left, I had a 7% contract. And then when I got the broker contract, it was like 135. You know my point? And I thought that, man, I'm gonna go full time. Now, for me to have the 135, I had to pay like a $500 fee. That was great. I had to pay something like $500 a month to keep the 135 back in the day. But that's how I
Really?
started. But yeah.
What products were you selling? What companies and products were you selling back then?
Yeah, so I was selling Mutual of Omaha. I had AIG, Mutual of Omaha, AIG, probably a couple other companies. I forget though. But then I acquired Gerber over time, and then I acquired Royal Neighbors and some other contracts, but National Life Group, companies like that. Yeah, but when I became a broker, I thought at the 135, man, I thought I was going to make some serious money. But the truth is, man, I opened up my office, and I was basically making 40,000 a year, man. And it was times to where I was in my office, man, and my wife was working a job, and there was times that I couldn't even make the rent. You know my point? So she had to help me out during that time. You're up months, you're down months. And to be honest with you, man, I just wanted a stable income. I wasn't stable back then. I wasn't in a position where I felt like I could really provide comfortably. That's when my wife was working.
How long were you a broker for?
So it's okay. I stayed with Primerica for about a year and a half. So from 22 to about 23, 24, like about 24. Then I became a broker at 24, and I opened my own office. Now I was a broker for maybe about a year and some change, until I got the Lincoln Heritage contract. But when I got the Lincoln Heritage contract, the blessing came from my wife, because she saw Lincoln actually sent out an advertising about becoming a life insurance agent with them. And I got offered an 80% contract. I'm thinking in my head that, shoot, I'm at 135. Lincoln's offered me 80. What I want to do with this contract is I'm just going to sell people that are sick, that type of thing, and be part-time with Lincoln. What's funny, Adam? What made me go full-time was really you. Back in the day, you painted the picture real clear, man. This amount of leads a week, and you broke it down mathematically. You remember that?
Not everybody listens, but we give the blueprint for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Dude, you laid it out, man. You literally, I just love your business savvy, man, because it was so detailed. I was like, wow, okay, so this is like a mathematical formula. You get this amount of leads a week, you close this amount percentage of sales, and you make 6 figures. I never seen a business like that. I was out there hustling, trying to get cold calling, white pages, going out to stores, getting kicked out, passing out my cards. I never seen a business expressed in the way that you put it out there for all of us to see. And when Marvin, my upline, he was going over your website, I was like, you know what? It just dawned on me. I was like, man, this is it. So what I did was I put my other contracts down, and I said, I'm just going to run with Lincoln. And I took the leads, and man, I made 6 figures. I made 130,000 130,000 my first year full time, man.
Let's
Yeah.
go, man. I figure. Well, you were like 25 then when you started?
25. Yeah, 25. I started insurance business 2009.
What was it that was holding you back when you were a broker?
To be honest with you, I wasn't a businessman. Remember, I came from network marketing, so I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to get leads the way I was taught, recruiting, going out passing out cars, those type of things. And I try to recruit people on the broker side, and I'm teaching people. I go in the malls. They like, no, dude, I'm not doing this. Yep. And then there was one more incident where, matter of fact, I was at a grocery store and a policeman person came and escorted me out the store, man. And I was just so upset because here's the deal. I was one of the main breadwinners. I'm trying to provide for my family. And I'm thinking, man, these guys are stopping me from providing, but I'm really the problem, right? I shouldn't have been doing that, but I just knew that there had to have been a better way. So when I got the Lincoln contract and I was exposed to the lead system, I felt like that was my way out of doing all those things. And it did. We have the best system in the world. Not even a question about it. Lincoln, they're very serious about their lead program. They invest a lot of money for us to make a living. And to be honest with you, I'm just so excited to be a part of a company that cares about their agents and their agency managers, man. And they invest so much money for us to make a living. Because it could be much harder, man. Yeah, it could be much harder. I've talked to guys left Lincoln years ago, and they're still trying to make ends meet. Haven't really established a team. They don't really have anybody that's working assistants that's really making a good living. It's tough, man, without a strong lead program. Yeah,
I always compare it like the system here. We're 1099, but it's almost like the structure. Like we're all business owners here, but it's almost like walking into a franchise opportunity, right? We're not having to put any money up or do anything. Like how much it costs to buy into a franchise. But literally, it's like all the things that, like when I came in, I remember telling JR, because I came from the mortgage industry, and it was like the word lead scared me because I'd only heard bad things about leads at that point in time. I'd had friends that spent thousands of dollars on mortgage and real estate type leads. And it was always horror stories. That was the only thing I heard. And so when I went out and sold, and I'm like, these people are actually mailing this in. It's got their handwriting stuff. And I told JR, I was like, what is it that you're not telling me? Because something don't seem like it's adding up, right? It's hard work. It literally is like an ABC that if you do this, like you said, if you follow the equation, like you can literally reverse map like what you want to accomplish here and what you want to make. So you trained the number one agent in the country last year, finished number 10, building an agency. I can tell you the stage in your career of where you're at is the most difficult. The guys that are doing what you're doing, it's like the hardest transition because you're wearing so many hats. You're recruiting, you're training, you're doing all these things. How are you able to manage that, right? And then not only put up the production yourself, but also put out the number one agent in the entire country out of probably, I don't know how many agents Lincoln has, but I'm guessing they've got 6,000, 7,000 agents, maybe more, right? That are at least writing an app or two.
Yeah, man. We want it, man. We want it bad, man. I want it for my family. He wants it. He came in with the right mindset. You're right. It's not easy, man. It's not easy producing and it's not easy training and building, but here's the reality, man. It's worth it. When I look at the lifestyle that I've provided for my family, man, I can't have it any other way, man. When I look at what you've done for your family, man, it just inspires me. Yeah, man, it's hard work.
What time did you start today? What time did you wake up this morning?
I woke up at 6 o'clock. Normally, I got my personal trainer that comes at my house at 3:45 in the morning. I had to go wake up at 3:45 this morning because I was in New Jersey yesterday, and I got to my house at 2 o'clock in the morning. You get my point? Because I went to New Jersey SCGS, met with some teammates out there, and then I trained one of my guys in the field, and it's a 4-hour drive. I probably finished up probably like 9, 10 o'clock, and it was a 4-hour drive, so I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning. You get my point? So I didn't wake up at 3:45, but normally I'll wake up at 3:45 while training my personal trainer for an hour. And then, see, I'm a big guy, so I got to do a second training because, see, to be honest with you, I like to eat what I want to eat. So I'll do a training with him from 3:45 to 4:45, and then I'll take a run I'll rest for about maybe 15, 20 minutes or so, and then I'll run maybe 4 miles or something.
Beast. You're a beast.
Yeah.
And then, so you're starting at 3:45. What time are you usually walking in the house, getting home?
I'm walking in 6 o'clock, and then I'll hit the field at 7 in the morning. But what was happening now, because Lincoln has an amazing agent lead generation system to where they provide us with leads and we call them and we recruit them that way. The last 6 months, man, has been so amazing as far as like recruitment. And what ended up happening is like the time that I would get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to hit the field, now I'm spending time with agents at 7 o'clock in the morning. So if I'm training an agent, I'll train them from 7 to 8:30 on the phone, 5 or 6 days in a row. And then I'll take them out in the field, or I'll have one of my managers take them out in the field, and we build in that way. So I've doubled my team. So now I've doubled the amount of people that are on my team. So now it's just about it's about continuous training so the production will reflect. You get my point? So this should be one of our bigger months this month. But yeah, so so my point is that if I'm not hitting the field at 7, then that means that I'm training an agent from 7 to 8:30 in the morning, and I'll do that 5, 6 days in a row, and then we'll do field training. So all I'm doing is I'm just training them on what they're going to see in the field. I go from how to do quotes all the way to how I do a presentation, and then I spend some time closing, and we'll review the manual, that type of thing.
You're an animal. How do we clone you? Back to Emanuel, right? What was it that you seen in him? Was there something that you seen early on, or is that something that kind of just blossomed over time as you guys were working together?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a good question. I knew Emanuel was going to be a top producer because he's an excellent student. Emanuel was one of those dudes that he's a perfectionist. So if you teach him to do something, he'll keep asking you questions. When I knew he was going to be a beast is when the amount of questions I saw him ask me, because normally people won't just they'll ask you a few questions and they'll let it go. But the reality is, to really grasp something, you got to ask a lot of questions. You really have to really know what you're doing to produce at that level. So with the amount of questions, I was like, man, this guy, he's going to be a beast. And I knew it from that point. And he just took off, man. He just blossomed. I'm really proud of him, man.
He was saying that there was a tough spot his first couple months. I can't remember if he said it was like 3 or 4 months in. He had the thoughts that we all have at certain points that he was going to give up or quit. He's like, because of his faith, he felt God had put him this opportunity to open these doors. But he said, really, the biggest thing was he was able to have a conversation with you.
Emanuel actually quit.
Okay.
It was a guy named David who actually recruited him. But there were some things that, one, he didn't understand the system. And then two, I would say, like us all, he got introduced to FFL. They offered him higher contracts. And he went over there for a little bit. And I had to go and explain our system and explain why we're the best at what we do and how you're going to make more money selling final expense than selling their products. So after that conversation, he decided to give us another shot. He said, man, I want to see how you close. So he would see me close like 5, 6, 7 deals in a day just from the group chat. So he was just like, man, how you do that? So I personally took him out in the field and I showed him a big day. And that day was hectic. That day was, when you're closing multiple sales like that, you're always dialing, you're dropping by, you're doing a ton of activity to get the sales to flow like that. It was not easy, but once he saw it, once he understood the work that it took to close on that level, he was excited, man. Some people would see it and they'll run away and say, dude, you doing all this? Oh, no, it's not for me. But not him. He was like, man, he loved it. And for me, I got ADHD, man. So I got to always be doing something. For me, like hard work is just my thing, man, because some people run from it. But for me, I'm at peace, man, when I'm working hard. I can just work and work. I think that's one of my superpowers, man, is I could just go and go and go. It takes my wife to slow me down and say, hey, honey, why don't you spend some time with us? So then I have to, my schedule now, I take Sundays off. I'll take long vacations, that type of thing to get the family time in. But yeah, my point is that to answer your question, once he saw me produce at a high level, he was on it. He was like, man, I'm going to do this at a high level. And that's when I saw his numbers go from 15. Because let's be honest, look, with our system is very unique, right? We don't advance as much as other carriers. When you first come in, you're at about an $800 cap rate, and you have to work yourself up to $1,000 cap rate, where you guys don't who don't know what that is, if you have a $3,000 commission, Lincoln Heritage will advance you $800 up front, and the rest of it is broken down month by month until 12 months until it's paid off. So so my point is that when you come in initially, you're not seeing all the money up front because a lot of money's on the back end. So I had to tell them that, look, if you want to make a lot of money, you got to close multiple deals a day, because you close multiple deals a day, Lincoln got to advance you. If you had an $800 cap rate, even if you had lead debt and you're taking half that to pay lead debt, you're still saying 400. So if you close 5 deals in a day, that's 2,000.
Yeah.
So we just got to do the valiant, right?
Yeah.
And so once he understood that, then you saw those numbers jump up in the 60s and the 50s and constantly stay up there because we're getting that advanced money. But guess what? The pay through got so big to where if you keep doing that, you're going to have a 6-figure pay through in no time, at that pace. And now Emanuel, he had 6-figure pay through that comes in every month after month, whether he produces or not, he has that coming in. So we're just so excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. What would you say between good agent or an average agent versus someone like Emanuel? What are usually the biggest differences in those people?
That's a good question. Work ethic is one. But I was listening to a podcast. How ironic is this? Listen to a podcast, and this pastor said on the podcast that you only go after what you're exposed to. And I find that to be true. If you read a lot of books, especially on people who are successful, they tell you to go and look at what you want. You go into a car dealership, you want to buy the car, go look at it. If you want to buy a certain house, you go out and maybe walk the property. Maybe if there's an open house, you look at the house that you want. And that has to do with exposing yourself to new levels. And I think that you hear it, but some people, we don't take it serious, but it is serious. Because why would you strive for something if you don't know what you're missing? One of my long-term goals is to own a yacht one day. And I've been to boat shows and I've been on a yacht. So there's a lot of stuff I know about a yacht. Before I bought my Benz, I sold it now, but I owned a AMG GT, and my goal was either buy a Ferrari or buy the AMG GT is a supercar to the Benz. You know my point?
Yeah.
But I remember getting to that car. I remember setting a goal, watching YouTube videos, and then it just manifested itself from my hard work. So I think that if you're asking what's the difference, one is work ethic, but two is also exposing yourself to the lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
I guess that's the point, right? It's also believing that you can have it, right? Now, I know you haven't told me your upbringing, but I can tell you this. Love my parents. We grew up middle class. And to be quite frank with you, I wanted a rich lifestyle, man. I just wanted something different. And I believed that I could get something different. And I went after it. And I'm still going after it. And I think that's the difference, right? You got to have a personal belief that you're worthy of living the way that you want to live. And if you believe that, then I feel like you'll manifest that into your reality.
100%,
I think that's the best way
man.
to say that.
I think I had seen something maybe a week or two ago, and they were talking about like everything you're talking about. There's all kinds of books and different stuff on it. You hear people that are ultra successful that, like you said, they talk about it. These are people who are actually doing it, right? But they said your mind doesn't know the difference, right? Same thing. I came from middle class. My dad worked. He worked in a factory for 35 years, made a good living, got up to 120 grand a year. But to me, that scared the hell out of me. And I was like, I don't ever want that. Having that job like that scared me. I was never afraid of the work. But fast forward, after losing everything, there was a house that we already lost the house. I'd lost vehicles when I was in the mortgage industry, come over to Lincoln. And for my first 3 to 5 years, I was making money, but I was broke. It was like every time I got paid, it's going back to IRS or old debt, things like that. And there was a house that I just stalked, man. Literally, I think we walked by it, and it's actually on JR Street. It's around the lake from where JR Ergen lives. And I stalked that house. And I knew the owner was one of the guys that founded the golf course out there. And I'd done business with him. He actually, the house that we were able to save, he worked out an agreement that allowed me to save my house whenever I lost everything and transitioned to Lincoln. Long
Yeah.
story short, I ended up buying that house, and then we put 150 grand in the backyard, made a beautiful, beautiful pool and right on the lake. But we were paid off in 5 years. And it was like, but then visualizing that and constantly chasing that. And sometimes even when I'd have a bad day, I would just drive by there. And
Yeah.
was today, would it be worth it? To be able to see my kids growing up there, my family
Yeah.
living there, my wife.
It's big time, man. That's huge.
When you do that, it really will help. You know what I mean? And
Right.
this business, the sales business is, to me, it's the best industry in the entire world. What's one thing you do differently as a manager or leader that a lot of people maybe overlook?
That's a very good question. I adapted Ted Wilson's philosophy. Everybody has their different philosophy in the business, right? I can tell you that a ton of managers believe that you need to take some time off and just manage. I mean, don't write any business, just focus on management. And Ted Wilson Sr.'s philosophy is different. His way he built his business, he was a strong producer, and he also recruited at the same time, and he trained. And adapting his philosophy, in my opinion, put me in a position to where I have accomplished a lot of things that probably a normal manager probably wouldn't have accomplished with the short amount of time I've been in the business. Obviously, you're a stud. You're a stud. Look, all hats off to you, but I'm just talking about just a normal manager. You get my point? Like last year with Lincoln Heritage and bonuses from UBI, I cleared 650,000. You get my point? At my level of management, yeah, I'm one of the highest paid at my level. You get my point? We're doing 150 to 200,000 in production. Normally, you'll see managers maybe at 4, maybe 5. I did 650. So
Yeah.
we're definitely proud of that, on our way to 7 figures. But just adapting his philosophy. Ted, even at his age, man, Ted has got to be like, what, 78, 79. He just doing conference calls, grinding like he's 20 years old, man. It's crazy.
Oh, he's still that involved?
He's involved, man. For you to gain my respect, it's tough, man. And Ted is one of those dudes that I highly respect. You are too as well.
Appreciate that.
But for me, man, I just mimicking him, I think has put me in a position to where we're winning at the level we were winning. We got a lot more levels to go. But yeah, work ethic, grinding, selling, recruiting, adapting his system, I think has put us in a position where we're at now.
If you don't mind, what's your pay through at right now?
23,000.
Let's go. 20 grand. So for people that are not Vikings or that don't know the business, that's his mailbox money. That's the money when he gets up beginning of the month. That's what he's getting, that direct deposit for 23 grand, dude. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
What is your hardest or your biggest setback or an area where you struggled, and like, how'd you get through that?
I would say for me, the area where I struggle is public speaking, believe it or not, but I just go for it, man. I'm really comfortable when I'm one-on-one with the client. And even if I'm doing a presentation, I'm selling a group, that's fine. But like leadership, like getting on in the mic and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, and step into the mic with tons of people. I've gotten a little stage fright in the past. For me, I just keep doing it, man. And I just keep becoming more comfortable with the position. And at times I look at videos. I have read books on public speaking, trying to get better at that. I would say that is probably one of my biggest challenges, but the reality is that, you know what? It's the truth. The truth is that you're not going to get what you want unless you change. You got to change. You got to grow, man. And you have to become somebody that's different to get what you want, especially if you got high goals, right? Then you have to put the work in. So I'm not afraid to do that.
When you're like coaching like agents that are maybe struggling on closing business, what are like 2 or 3 main things that you usually focus on to help those agents?
These are some things I've learned in the car business, right? I was in the car business. I got to see hardcore sales. And I got to see clients that wasn't going to buy, but that's about to walk out the door. And I've seen managers go and say, hey, look, I'm going to work you a deal. I'm going to make you a deal. Sit them back down and close that client. So what I learned in the car business, I apply in the insurance business, is that you have to make, there's certain clients that have to feel like you've done everything you could do to make them happy. You know my point? So one of the things that I do, I think is different, is I'll give you an example, like the accidental coverage. I offer that as like a special. I'll say, hey, listen, this is what I'll do. I'll give you up to $160,000 of accidental coverage, and I only charge you $8. So I'm introducing that as it's a deal, even though it is, I think it's a great deal that Lincoln Heritage offers, but I'm just really emphasizing, hey, listen, this is what we're willing to do to earn your business. We're going to offer this extra coverage at this low cost. And if I can do this today, how would you feel about moving forward? So I'm offering everything. So so those things, believe it or not, if you say it, could put you in a position where if a client's like on the edge of buying, then if they feel like they're getting the deal, then they'll go ahead and buy it. You get my point? So that's how I present it. Things like creating urgency, expressing to the client that, hey, listen, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. While you're healthy enough to qualify for the lowest rate, and while you have coverage that starts right away, how would you feel about moving forward with that today? You need to make sure you get the best deal possible. You get my point? Expressing the urgency in closing, letting the client know, look, you don't know if you're going to have a heart attack tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to die tomorrow. Why not do the right thing and make sure your family's covered? Expressing those things have put me in a position where I make a lot of sales that probably an average agent wouldn't be able to make, is because of my tone and just expressing urgency. Well, I'm just trying to think of other things too as well. I know that's huge. Leaving nothing on the table. One of the biggest things that agents make mistakes on is they don't offer everything that Lincoln Heritage has to offer. I go UBI, and I'll say this, even though I love our system with universal benefits, one of the things that puts me in a position to where I'm always doing more production is that they offer 3 quotes. And I think that the average salesperson offers 3 quotes. I offer maybe 7 or 8 quotes, and I always take it all the way up to 35,000. And I can't tell you how many people have closed at 35,000 at 79, 80 years old, and the premium is like $500-$600, or premium is $200-$300. That puts me in a position to where in a month I may write 73, because because I'm capturing all of the production that can be captured, because I'm offering the whole shebang, right? I'm going from $50 all the way up to the top. And I'm asking, which one would you say best fits your needs, but also your budget? So I'm not forcing the premium, right? I'm just showing it. And so by me showing it puts me in a position where I can hold more premium per client. You get my point? So I think that itself puts me in the position to where I'm going to do more production to you, because you're just not showing it.
Dude, I love it. It's funny. That's the second time I've heard this week. I'm big on always trying to grow and get better. And I'm part of a coaching group, John Wetmore. He's an integrity guy, but he's got a big agency. They did $200 million last year. And he literally said the same thing. He's someone that taught him. I was writing all these small policies, and they told him, like, every house, always take them up to the max. At least give them that as an option, right? And that's something I'd never heard or thought of. And my production like went through the roof. And again, you're spending the same amount of time. You're already there, right? That's awesome. I love hearing that.
Love it.
When you write those bigger policies, are you doing anything to be careful also for retention wise?
Here's the thing. You'd be surprised, man. My biggest clients have, like, I had a client, and this client just passed, but one of my bigger actions, like $500-$600 a month. They paid that for 7-8 years with Lincoln before they passed, man. You know what I'm saying? I would say for retention, if a client wants to cancel, what has helped me, and this has really helped me too as well, especially recently, is if a client calls to cancel, what I'll do is I'll say, no problem, I cancel it. And I'll go right to the client, and then I'll try to resell everything all over again. You get my point? But I think that some people, when the client calls to cancel, they'll just say, no problem. Matter of fact, I got a new agent I'm trying to coach that did that recently. He was like, I told him to go back and resell it all over again. He was like, I just let him. I'm like, no, man, that's like your money on the line. You don't if you work hard to get it, you got to also work hard to keep it. So you got to have that mindset, and that's going to also help your persistency.
Yeah, 100%. Your residual income is going to help your pay through, your renewals, all of those things.
That's correct. And customer service, I tell my clients during our presentation, I tell them that I'm available at your service 24/7. I tell them that because I personally, I have had people who have served me at a high level. I'll just throw this out there. I got a real estate agent. Her name is Carrie. She does an excellent job. And one of the reasons why I allowed her to sell my house before I got this house, and I also allow her to be the buyer agent, so she got paid on both sides, was because if I call at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, she's answering her phone, man.
I love that type of hustler,
Yeah,
man.
she answers her phone, man.
different.
It's a big deal, man, especially when clients got something of them. I tell them, listen, you can call me. I don't care. You can call me 1 o'clock in the morning. I filed death claims on vacation. You get my point? So it's not like my phone is never off, right?
Yeah.
If you call me, I'm going to get it done. So I think that also helps my retention too as well.
You're always available. Walk me through like your training process.
So my steps are: I recruit an agent. I do a 5-6 day training on the phone. The first day I'll go over what makes the Lincoln Heritage Property the best product that's out there. So we'll go into all the different things, all different benefits like 24-hour payout. We plan a few for free, FCGS, all those different things. Quotes, how to do, I'll show them the accent, the writers, all those things. That takes about an hour and a half. And then the next day would be actually at the end of that training, actually at the end of the first day, we'll go on how to write a paper application. And then the next day, I'll show them how to do an e-application. And then I'll take that. And if I have enough time, I'll show them how to do a presentation. And then I go from then the next day, then once I show them how to do a presentation, they got to show me how they do their presentation. And then the next day we go into closing, and we take things step by step. And the reason why I do it from 7 to 8:30, because it puts you in a position where I can still hit the field. You get my point? As opposed to so I take non-productive time because I know most agents get out from 9 to 9. Now, when I was getting up at 7 o'clock to 9, it was a no-brainer. I'm going to produce more than most people because I was working more hours. It's just simple, right? But as a manager, for me to maintain decent production, I take that time that I would have went out in the field, and I'll just train the agents from 7 to 8:30, 5-6 days in a row. And then I'll have them presentation ready, probably by the 5th, 6th day. And then they go out with the manager, and all they're seeing is everything that I trained on. So when I close, they're saying, oh, shoot, that's everything I saw in training. And it makes it's an easy transition that way.
Dude, I love it.
I got 2 guys. Let me think about it. I got 4 people I'm building under right now. Or no, 5. So it's Dave, it's Emanuel. I got a ton of agents right now. So it's Emanuel, Dave, Tyja, Brian, and Janine. So what I'll do is I'll recruit, and then I'll train them. I'll train a group, and I'll put them under different people. And their responsibility is to go out and field train. They're already trained up from me. So all they got to do is go out and make them some money. And then they're good to go, because I spend all that time training them early in the morning. And so we just keep duplicating that process over and over again. So now this is the most I've ever done it. So we're looking to do some really big numbers, getting the real high numbers. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, man. Hey, look, recruiters no joke. So I'm taking maybe like a couple month pause, and I'm gonna, because we got a ton of people we recruited, and I'm getting them up to the production they should be producing. But I think with the amount of agents I have now, we should be able to do 350. We're already pretty high this month. But yeah, man, that's my process.
And people putting up the numbers, you showing them and leading them by example. It's not just about the production. They're getting paid. Like, you're getting people paid. You know what I mean? When people talk about Rafael Jones 10 years from now, what do you hope they say?
Oh, very good question. I wanted to say I was a God-fearing man, to be honest with you, man.
It's awesome.
One of the things I learned in this life, man, is all about relationships. And for me, my reputation as far as like how I treated people was I kind, was Was I a person who helped? Those things matter to me. How was I towards my family? Do my kids love me? Is my wife still with me? So many people have went our path, man, who became successful and they lost everything. They lost their family, all that stuff, man. I just want it all. For me, I want to have the perfect picture. The guy that not only did he win at a big level financially, but he was able to have good relationship with his kids, have good relationship with his wife, have good relationship with his friends. He was the person that when a friend was down, he was always there. He encouraged, he had their backs. That's the type of dude I want to be remembered as. A strong leader, somebody who changed people's lives for the better. Not just financially, but spiritually. A guy who won souls to Christ. That's important to me. So those are things that matter to me, man.
Hey, brother, your light shines bright. There's no doubt. You doing all those things. That's awesome. It's awesome to see people with intent. Again, there's a lot of good people, a lot of bad people, especially when you start making money. They say it typically magnifies the person that you are, right? And so to see that, doing it in such a fantastic way and being that leader, not only to your family and your agents, all those things, man, that's incredible. My hat's off to you for that. What would be a funny story or something that really just stuck with you? Something crazy in the field or something funny?
Yeah, we see the crazy things in the field all the time, man. Oh man, that's why it's such a big opportunity of final expense, man. I don't know if I should be saying this on your podcast, but I went to a lady's house recently, and I knocked on the door. She opened the door, man. She had nothing on, man. These are things we see in the field all the time. It was great. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you open the door like this? Hey, we had to get out of there, but man, I tell you, we see it all, man. Something crazy during an appointment. That was the craziest recently, to be quite frank with you. But I could tell you all types of stories. I just have to think about it.
No 2 days are ever the same for sure in this business.
Oh yeah, man, yeah. But man, you gotta love it, man, because so many people they want to go after people who have a ton of money, want to sell these wealth products and annuities, and people who already millionaires, multimillionaires, and they want to sell these big insurance policies, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. But the reality, man, is that serving everyday people, man, it's a big deal, man. And I'm just glad we're in a position where we can help the average everyday person because they need it, man.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people when I was selling the other products to where we couldn't even get approved. You know what I mean? And just to be able to say yes, the majority of everybody is a freaking big deal. And not only to say yes, but to have a product that you really believe in. Because I've sold things, man, in the past that I didn't believe in. You know my point? One of the things, especially like when I was selling cars, one of the reasons why I wanted to get out of selling cars, man, because we made money putting people in bad financial positions. Like we was overselling cars that shouldn't have been sold at those price points. You know what I mean? So it just to sell something that's really going to bring value to somebody's life and make a strong income too. Oh my God, it's a no-brainer, man. Dude, you feel like I'm in heaven.
You're like the third or fourth person I've talked to in the last 2 or 3 weeks that we've done a podcast with that came from car sales. So anybody watching that's in car sales, I feel like the training is phenomenal, right? If you're there making money in car sales, you'll crush it in final expense, right? If you come in and put the work, and obviously they're coachable, the process and all those things, but it was the same thing. Like my first sales job, I took it back in the newspaper days, $2,000 guarantee for a car sales job. And it was a little Nissan dealership. We had almost no foot traffic. I didn't know anything about sales. And the reason I left a couple months, I was selling like, I don't know, 16, 17 cars a month at that point. But I was working 9 to 9 every weekend. And then I sold a car. We had 3 lots off of one of the other lots to an 80-something-year-old woman. And I made a relationship with her son. The car looked great. Everything looked great. And as soon as she drove off, all the other salesmen that have been there a long time and on that lot, they laughed and they're like, you just put her like in the worst car on the lot. And I'm like, why would you guys let me do that? And they thought it was hilarious. And then 2 weeks later, I get a call that, this 80, 90-year-old woman, she breaks down in the 105-degree heat and stranded for 2 hours. And this first time she drove the car. And they bring it in and they wanted, I can't even remember what it was to fix it. And obviously her son was upset, but I was furious. My managers thought it was hilarious. And so I ended up taking my commission and paying to fix her car, and I quit. That was my last day. I'm like, this is, not all car sales are bad, but I'm like, this is why that reputation can be there, is because the people like that I was working for at that point in time were just they were slimy people. And I'm like, that could have been my grandma, my mom, your mom, your grandma. Like, why would you do that? Like you said, upselling people on things they don't need. It just, with Final Chance, we can lay our head down knowing that we put people in a. Was there a moment when you knew like you were going to make it big where everything just seemed like it was clicking?
Yeah, it clicked once I saw your website, man. When Marvin Hall went over your website, it clicked right there. I said, man, I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna run with this, man. I'm gonna go for it. And then you showed the gradual improvements in your income, man. I think what you did, if I'm not mistaken, if I can remember this correctly, I think your first year you did 150, I think, or somewhere around there, maybe 180. And then you went to 3 something, and it was like 5. Then it was like, then it was like all the way close to 1 million, then 1 million, then 2 million. I was like, did it in 5 years? I said, golly. Because
Yeah,
let me tell you something. Where I came from, when I was at Primerica, that's when I was exposed to the first incomes that large. The top guy was making like 5 million. And that's 5 million is nothing to sneeze at. His name was Mike Sharp or something like that. That was at the time. And then the way they were structured, like you had really the RVPs winning and everybody else was like suffering basically. He wasn't making any money. And here I see you get in the game as basically as a salesperson and make a significant amount of money as a salesperson, and then build an organization and go from 0 to hero. And at the time, I obviously heard your story when we met, but for you to do what you did, man, was really inspiring. So I would say really when I really got it was when I saw when you laid it out, man. I was like, you know what? I can follow this, man. Funny because think about it, I didn't even know you, but you just impacted so many people just from that website, man. I guarantee you there's more guys like me, man.
that's
That's probably in the
awesome.
business that either have told you or you don't know. Yeah.
That's super awesome because it's to be able to hear other people just winning. And again, I'm not like one of these guys like Jeremy Miner or these big Grant Cardone or anything like that. I'm a normal guy that I believe that if you go out to do the right thing, you work hard, right? And then if you help people, like you can be as successful as you want to be. And to hear other people doing the same things, man, it's re-inspiring to me. Really, it pumps me up to hear that. So thank you for that. Thank you. What would be your advice to someone that's on the fence, that's thinking about getting the business, but they're hesitant because of either licensing or the 1099?
I think they're nuts, man. Man, I was fighting hard to get on 1099. I don't even understand it, man. My first book that inspired me to be an entrepreneur was Robert Kiyosaki's book, Retire Young, Retire Rich. Anybody that has read that book, when you read that book, there's a lot of accounting in that book, and it goes over actually the tax benefits of being an entrepreneur versus being an employee. And I remember, and this is really simple, one of the main benefits of being an entrepreneur is you get to keep more of your money. Why? Because we have tax advantages that normal employees don't have. And that puts us in a position where we can have certain deductions on our taxes to where we're able to keep a lot more of our money. So basically what I'm saying is that if you have 2 people make the same income, one is on W-2, they got a job, and the other person is a business owner, the business owner is going to retain more money just because of the tax incentives. So then my question would be simple. Why would you want to work just as hard as an entrepreneur for half the money? To me, that doesn't make any sense. But if you have an illusion of safety, you think this makes sense to you, then God bless you. But for me, working on 1099 and being an entrepreneur made more sense.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people work in a place and company shuts down or this or that happens or the market shifts. And here's an entrepreneur, you're again, constantly investing in yourself to get better. And the money's going to be a byproduct, but the security really comes, I think, in once you have a skill set, right? We're paid by the problems we solve and the things that we make happen. But once you have that, if God forbid Lincoln Heritage went out of business, we know that's not going to happen what they did. Rafael Jones is going to make a ton of money because of all the time and all the things that you've invested in yourself to become obviously the man that you are currently. And that's one thing I would stress to anybody that's on the fence about being an entrepreneur. Do this because again, no matter what, you always have job security. You can always work anywhere and make a ton of money. If someone's thinking about quitting that's in the business, what advice would you give them?
Dude, I think it's foolish, man, because our business is so simple. And I'll say this to you. If you do an average job, you're going to make a significant amount of money just with the compounding of your accounts that you acquire, right? So over time, let's say, for example, this is one thing I love about the insurance business, especially with Lincoln Harris, the way where our pay structure is that you may be at another life insurance company and never make six figures if you're an average producer. But if you're an average producer here and you just do a decent job and those renewals compound over time, you're going to be in a position where you're going to make a significant income, even though your skill set may not warrant it, just from the time that you invest. So then I would say to you is that if you're in a position where you really want to make a lot of money, why wouldn't you try something like this? That's the type of conversation I would have with a person who was potentially trying to explore this, because it's a no-brainer to me, man.
Yeah. If someone's already in and they're struggling, what would be like at least one piece of advice you tell that person that's just struggling?
I would advise him to talk to somebody who has success, right? The reason why I became the producer that I became, and the reason why I was able to produce another producer that could produce on my level was, or really greater than my level, to be honest with you, was because I took the time. Now, don't get me wrong. When I got into insurance sales with Primerica, I was a pretty good salesperson, but what made me really good at insurance was, and I got to get my hats off to this guy. He's a guy from Primerica. His name is Tony Duran, sharp Indian guy, kind of like Indian Trinidadian type dude. And he's the one who exposed me to a 5-minute presentation. And it took me to really be a student to the game. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're struggling, you got to be a student to somebody who's successful. How many times have I asked you, Adam, what do you do? I'm a student to the game, so I'm still learning. I don't have an ego where I'm like, man, I know it all, right? To go back to my story, there was a guy named Tony Duran, and he had a 5-minute presentation. And when he said he had a 5-minute presentation, people laughed at him. But this guy was writing 45,000 in term insurance,
Wow.
45,000 in production in term insurance.
No leads.
And no leads, but his wife she would call and set up an appointment. So I'm not sure if she had like white pages or whatever, but she would call and set up his appointment. So she would always have his appointments full. So she was an appointment setter. So he had leads to a certain degree because he had a person setting up his day. You get my point? But
yeah.
But my point is still 45,000 though of term is not a joke. The whole final expense is quick. Term is not quick.
Yeah.
It's not quick at all. The application is way longer. This is what he said anyway. He said in the meeting, he said, what do you think the average human attention span is? And then one person finally said it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something like that. And he said, if that's the case, then why would you have a 30-minute presentation? And that was like a golden nugget right there. So he was saying, you're a fool for having a 30-minute presentation and a human being's attention span is only like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, something to that degree. So he said, my presentation is 5 minutes. And everybody chuckled, but then I got it. Man, okay, this making sense. So then he walked us through the presentation, and you really don't need to say a ton. If you got some good benefits and you focus on selling the benefits, you don't really need to go, into 30, 45 minutes of presenting, because the reality is, what it really comes down to is, are you going to close the deal or not? So back then I was spending a lot of time presenting in a small amount of time closing. And then when I flipped it, I spend a short amount of time presenting and I spend a longer amount of time closing, is when my production changed. Because here's the bottom line. Doesn't matter how good of a salesperson or a closer you are. If you're not good at managing your time, then you're never going to see those numbers. So you got to have a short presentation and focus on closing. But the presentation got to be short and good though. Yeah, they should have a short, good, sweet presentation. Yeah.
How long are you typically sitting in the house, start to finish?
A lot of times I can close a deal in 15, 20 minutes, man. If I'm there longer than that's probably as I'm closing multiple deals. Maybe if I'm closing like maybe 3, 4, 5 people, I might be there maybe 45, 50 minutes or something. If I'm closing a lot of people, but you talking about like a one-on-one, I might close you 15, 20 minutes, man. 5 minutes to present. You'll be surprised if you do a 5-minute presentation, right? And you spend 10 minutes closing, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
10 minutes of like
What
raw closing.
how many leads are you running?
I mean, leads I recommend. I recommend at least 30 leads a week. But you know what the truth is? The truth is that for you to hit the big numbers, you need more leads than that. But when I say big numbers, I'm talking about like over 30,000. We talking about doing 50, 60, 70,000. You need to get upwards of 50 leads a week to do that. But what I would say to any person that's listening to this podcast is you get as many leads as you can handle. But for me, at my stage, my take is different now though, because now that I'm a manager and you know this, like when you're a manager, you get pulled into a lot of different things that may not be directly like closing a deal. It could be like on Saturday, I got a training. I got to take the day out to train the whole team. You get my point and stuff like that.
How many leads a week?
At least 30. Yeah. And then if you want to get to the big numbers, you need to take 50. And dude, I want to see somebody hit 100,000 one day, legitimately, not fake business. The highs I've got was 73.
Incredible.
I think that to do 100, I think honestly, do 100,000, you probably need to take about 100 leads a week, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I want to see somebody get to that level, man, to do 100. Because it can be done. You focus, man, and you go hard, you can do 100, man. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I remember one time I did 73. I actually did. This was after UBI had a meeting for about 2 or 3 days. And I went after that meeting, I did 73. And I wonder, shoot, if I didn't hit that meeting, I wonder how much I could have done. I probably would have gotten in the 80s. Because when you're moving at that speed, everything just started to flow.
At that incredible pace, I
man.
bet like your confidence, right? From house to house, closing that many deals, like your confidence got to be sky high, right?
It is. It is.
Anything specific you'd like to say or add?
I would say this. Lincoln Heritage is anybody who's in Lincoln Heritage knows that Lincoln Heritage is the best opportunity insurance business. I think for me, we have the highest paid managers. We have some of the highest paid salespeople. I think it's a utopia for insurance sales, man. So anybody's listening to this podcast, I would encourage you, man, to reach out to somebody in your region who's selling with Lincoln Heritage to pursue an opportunity.
What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, they can call me on my number. My phone number is 202-905-1653. Or they can go and follow me on Facebook. You just put Rafael Jones on Facebook. You can follow me, or you can follow Brad Gibson Associates. That's my agency. You can reach out to me there too as well. I'm also on Instagram too.
We'll grab all your links before you post the video, and we'll put your Instagram, your Facebook, all that stuff. What states are you currently contracting agents in?
Oh, shoot, man. We got UBI has Maryland, Virginia, DC, Delaware, New Jersey, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and we just acquired Pennsylvania.
Let's go. So if you're in any one of those states, you're the man to talk to. I definitely encourage. So if someone wants not only someone that leads by example, but again, strong man of God, that life's flowing through you, you're gonna do everything in your power to help those agents succeed. So I definitely encourage anybody that if you're on the fence or thinking about getting in the industry, reach out to Rafael. He's an absolute animal, man, inspiration to me. Get me fired up hearing what you're doing. I've got to kick myself in the butt, get a little bit more in gear. I don't know about 3:45 a.m., but I'm gonna have to step it up a little bit. What's the hardest job you've ever done outside of insurance?
The hardest job? Oh, man, that's a good question. When I was 16 years old, right, I actually worked a job delivering barrels. Like, no, not delivering barrels. I would pick up barrels. So I don't know if you know this, but like, there's a lot of people there's a lot of people who ship different things. Let's say, for example, you're from another country. I don't know. It could be Russia. It could be from the islands. I used to pick up barrels that people would send, like things like it could be food, it could be clothes. And we would go to these homes and we would pick up these barrels, and I was 16. And these barrels had to weigh like 200 pounds, man. And you had to pick up the barrels and you had to put them on a truck. And that was a lot of lifting. And that was fun. That was cool at that age. That was a hard, because you definitely would sweat doing that job. But I remember when I got a little bit older, man, I was probably maybe 18. And I worked at a what was it? It's a furniture store. And I was in the back moving furniture around, stuff like that. And that was hard work, man. I knew from that point that manual labor was not for me, man. I take my hats off to guys that do hard manual labor. Oh man, that is no joke, man.
A lot of my uncles were like, they're all like welders and fabricators, or a lot of them were. So through high school for 4 years, I worked for them. And one of the big things that we did is like one of their big specialties is we do a lot of work at Foster Farms in their rendering plant. So that's where they send all the chicken guts and all the nasty stuff. And basically what my uncles and them are the best at is the hardest, most difficult jobs that are also the nastiest jobs, like that their internal maintenance crews won't do. That's what my uncles, you know? And so I did that for a handful of years. I worked out there for 4 years, but it was probably 3 years of actually working like in the chicken plants and stuff. And I had my cousin come over this weekend, and he taught me in the going out there on Sunday with him. I said, hey, I'll go do a ride along. It's been, I don't know, 25 years or however long since I've been out there. I said, I'll go out there and sit out there with your dad and them. His dad's gotten a little older and slowed down, but he's still work out there hustling, and end up looking at chicken guts for 11 hours on Sunday. I said, I can't just sit here and watch, got all these people working and I'm over here not doing nothing. You know what I mean? Look, I'll show you a video real quick. If you could. This is like my cousin coming out of I don't want to can't do it. Oh, hold on. How nasty. Like covered in chicken guts.
Oh, wow.
Literally like working, like climbing in that little hole, working in gut, man. And I told my uncle whenever I worked for him back in the day, he always told me that I was walking up on a walk with a bunch of chains around my neck because we're pulling out a shaft or doing something with the forklift. And he looked at me and he said, hey, Adam, he goes, this is as good as it gets. And he goes, I'm going to teach you to go to college or do something. And on Sunday, I told him, I never graduated college, but I'm thinking about re-signing back up, Uncle Jimmy. Hey, I really appreciate you being on here, man. You're a huge inspiration. I appreciate you letting us interview Emanuel as well. Both of you guys are going to hopefully light some fires, get some people fired up. And again, people will follow your direction. It's life-changing. It's legacy-changing. And I'm just excited to see you keep winning, man. I'm rooting for you, and anything I can do to help, man, I'm always here.
Absolutely, man.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.